You've probably noticed how some fighters fail drug tests, get arrested, even assault people, and still walk straight into title shots.
Fighter Jon Jones. Jones was arrested in Las Vegas Friday morning, just hours after being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame.
Meanwhile, other fighters post one controversial tweet and their UFC career is over. The promotion says its personal conduct policy applies to everyone equally, but the punishments clearly don't.
And what Miguel Torres wrote is unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
So what actually decides who gets protected and who gets cut? In this video, we're ranking the worst UFC offenders from least protected to most protected and what it takes to be above the UFC law. Compared to other major sports, the UFC is pretty lenient when it comes to what you can say and do.
We don't come out at the UFC with these canned statements that are written by our lawyers. We handle everything on a case-by-case basis, and with the idea that people are going to make mistakes, and it's how you handle yourself after you make that mistake.
Fighters say things on camera that would get athletes in the NFL or NBA fined or suspended without question. But there is a personal conduct policy, and it does have clear boundaries. If you're associated with the UFC, you're an ambassador for the sport, and you act like one.
And people want to call it, oh, we're bowing down to political correctness, or we're doing this and that. No, we're not. We're being civil human beings is what we're being. There's a group of people that doesn't like that word. Okay, then don't say it. You know, it's an offensive word. Even if though you're not directing it towards, because neither was I in my rant or whatever you want to call it. I wasn't directing it toward gay people, but it was a word that bothers gay people, you know?
When fighters do step out of line, the UFC has proven that it can act really fast. Paul Daly found that out the hard way at UFC 113. Koscheck had just beaten him over 3 rounds and Daly walked over and sucker punched him in the face while the ref was still separating them. It was caught on camera from every angle. At the post-fight press conference, Dana said flat out he'll never fight in the UFC again.
That incident.
He's done. I don't give a shit if he's the best 170-pounder in the world. He'll never come back here again.
We're talking Paul Daly.
Yeah.
You're cutting him from the UFC.
Yeah. He'll never come back.
Then in December 2011, former WEC champion Miguel Torres posted a rape joke on Twitter. He deleted it within hours, but enough people had seen it that it didn't matter.
Rape vans. If they were called surprise vans, more women would get into them because everybody loves a surprise. When he read that to me here this morning, I was blown away. It's one of the first times in an interview that I didn't know what to say, and I was just blown away. So as soon as I was done with that interview, I got ready, had to head over to the press conference. So I've got people working on, is that what was said, and that, et cetera, et cetera. After the press conference, I find out that that was the case. He did say that, and he was joking. It was just a joke. And it's not a funny joke to me. That's not it's just not something you tweet or you know.
Dana fired him the next day, pulled his profile from UFC.com, and told Sports Illustrated his career with the organization was over. In 2014, Thiago Silva showed up at his wife's gym with a gun, pointed it at her, then drove home and barricaded himself inside until a SWAT team broke in and tased him. The UFC cut him while he was still in jail. But those 3 weren't the only fighters who broke the rules, and the next fighter on the list had way more protection. But before we get to him, make sure you subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on more videos like this. A few years ago, Paulo Costa was one of the most exciting middleweights on the roster. He had knockout power, main event numbers, and was exactly the kind of fighter the UFC builds around.
Waleed Ismail,
that guy was a lunatic.
I love that guy.
He's
training.
He's awesome.
And
I remember
he's
in the
training
old Pride
with
days.
Paulo Costa. He's working with them, and he talked to me about him. And you know how crazy Waleed is. He's like, he measures his food. That's what he kept saying. He measures his food. Like, that dude has like everything portioned out. He's just like 100% eyes on the prize. He goes, that's all he does is train. He goes, this guy doesn't party, he doesn't fuck around. He's just concentrating on measuring his food and training.
But the list of things he got away with is hard to ignore. Back in 2017, USADA caught him receiving illegal IV infusions after weigh-ins at 2 separate events, UFC 212 and UFC 217, over 100 milliliters both times, administered by his own brother. That's a banned method under anti-doping rules, full stop. The penalty could have been 2 years. He got 6 months, reduced because he cooperated with the investigation. Then in 2021, he showed up 25 pounds over for a Vettori fight, pulled out of bouts with Whitaker and Cannonier, and repeatedly told the UFC he'd never signed contracts he'd apparently signed.
As a rule, you don't typically tell people where to fight, but with a situation like this, will you or the team recommend this guy stay at light heavyweight?
Yeah, we absolutely tell you where to fight when this happens, yeah. He's going to have to fight at 205. Yeah.
Then in 2022, a nurse in Brazil accused him of elbowing her in the face during a dispute over a COVID vaccination card. According to her, he tried to walk off without getting the shot, she grabbed his arm to stop him, and he hit her. Police questioned him, no charges were ever filed, and the story disappeared within days.
She grabbed my arm, and I just bring my arm to me.
You're such a big guy.
I'm a big guy, but
Yeah.
she's so small, and she just grabbed my arms, and she say, "Oh, he elbowed my face."
Oh no. Everything okay now?
Every female, of course, yeah.
Costa denied everything and threatened to sue her for making it up. The UFC never commented. He was already booked for a main event a few months later and stayed right where he was. Costa never got cut, never got suspended, and kept landing big fights. But when it comes to the most protected guys on the roster, he's way down the list. Before the UFC, Colby Covington already had a record, and not the fighting kind. But he worked hard, made it through the ranks, and eventually carved out a spot on the UFC roster. The problem was, once he got there, nobody really cared. He was winning fights, but he wasn't drawing attention. So he made a decision. If the real Colby wasn't getting over, maybe a louder version would. In 2017, after beating Damian Maia in Brazil, he grabbed the mic and called the whole country a dump and the crowd filthy animals.
You need to respect me, I'm going into a fight, this is professional. So, I just felt disrespected by them, and, I didn't say anything that was too outlandish.
He later admitted it was a calculated move. The UFC had told his manager they were cutting him, and he went viral on purpose to save his job. It worked. No suspension, no fine, and he kept getting booked. The UFC didn't just ignore the behavior, they quietly rewarded it. Covington had figured out that controversy sells, and the UFC's silence confirmed he was right. From there, the incidents just kept coming. In 2019, after beating Robbie Lawler, he joked about Matt Hughes getting hit by a train.
Matt Hughes, literally, this is not an expression for something, Matt Hughes was hit by a train.
Later that same year, he told Kamaru Usman that his recently deceased coach was watching from hell. Nothing happened. Then in 2020, after beating Tyron Woodley, he called Black Lives Matter terrorists, told Usman to reach his tribe with smoke signals, and labeled Woodley a communist. In 2023, he told Leon Edwards, whose father was murdered when he was a teenager, to say hi to his dad in hell.
Do you maybe regret those comments and think, actually, okay, that was one time I maybe did go a little bit too far?
Not at all. Why would I have sympathy for a sex trafficker, someone who's impacted and hurt a lot of people's lives? The truth always stings the worst in the world. So, no, I don't feel bad about that at all. Let's talk about all the victims that he left behind that are surviving of the trauma and the turmoil that he put these people's lives through. So I don't feel bad at all. Why would I feel bad for a criminal?
Every single time, the UFC looked the other way. But Covington at least kept his chaos inside press conferences and live streams. The next fighter on this list took it to the streets. Jorge Masvidal grew up street fighting in Miami, did jail time before MMA became his way out, and carried that edge with him throughout his entire career.
I think a lot of people don't know this. You have spent time in jail.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about that.
Why not?
We'll skip that one.
I'm just curious, why did you go to jail?
Just being a dumb kid, letting my surroundings maybe, a lot of things growing up that weren't the best decisions. Some of them, I don't regret because it was like maybe I was in fear for my life, type things, and I did certain things, and whatever. It's part of my journey, my history,
right.
For a long time, though, he was just another name on the roster. That started to change at UFC London when he punched Leon Edwards backstage. He called it a three-piece and soda, a catchy line that sparked something with fans. And from his knockout of Darren Till to the 5-second KO of Ben Askren, suddenly Masvidal was one of the most talked about fighters in the world. That propelled him to the BMF title, where The Rock put the belt around his waist and back-to-back title shots against Kamaru Usman.
The Ben Askren fight, though, that was it. That was the cherry on top. And then, of course, the murking of Nate Diaz. I mean, he beat the fuck out of Nate Diaz. I mean, that was a crazy fight. And they were talking about running that back.
I was like, for what?
Yeah, I was confused. I was like...
Don't forget, Darren Till put his lights out, too.
Yes, with a beautiful step-forward left hook combination. I mean, he's a monster.
And eventually a grudge match with Colby Covington, a man he'd known for years and grown to genuinely hate. He lost. And 16 days later, Masvidal ran up behind Covington outside a Miami steakhouse and punched him twice in the face without warning.
Police were called to the scene. Apparently punches were thrown. It says the initial reports and tweets from Masvidal and managers and a video obtained by TMZ early Tuesday morning showed Covington surrounded by Miami police officers outside the restaurant at 11:30 p.m. where the alleged physical alteration took place. Covington was heard to be saying on video, "He's over here swinging, trying to come at me, and I ran out of the back of the room." He's gonna get shit for that one.
Covington claimed a fractured tooth, a concussion, and a damaged Rolex. Masvidal was arrested 2 days later on felony, aggravated battery, and criminal mischief, a premeditated street assault on a fellow active fighter. The UFC's response was to book him for a co-main event in Miami while those felony charges were still open. He fought, lost, and retired on his own terms that same night.
I mean, he's a legend. He's one of the craftiest veterans that ever fought in the sport, one of the greatest personalities, and so loved in Miami. It was so appropriate that he have his last fight here.
Eventually, both felonies were dropped. He pleaded guilty to misdemeanor battery, paid court fees, and walked away. The UFC literally watched one of their fighters get ambushed on the street by another one of their fighters and did nothing meaningful about it. But this next case was messier, and the UFC's response to it was even harder to justify. Khamzat Chimaev showed up in the UFC in the summer of 2020 and finished 3 opponents in 66 days.
I think he's the scariest contender we have seen for a while.
He was undefeated, terrifying, and the kind of fighter promotions build their entire future around. Then he contracted a severe case of COVID and it nearly ended his career before it started. He was coughing up blood during training, convinced his body was shutting down, and posted on Instagram that he thought he was going to die. Dana White flew him to Las Vegas personally, got him medical care, and refused to let him walk away. That loyalty went both ways, and it matters for everything that came next. Because as Chimaev claimed the rankings, the problems started stacking up. He pulled out of multiple fights, including an original booking against Robert Whittaker, leaving opponents and fans frustrated. Then came the visa issues. Chimaev has a well-documented close relationship with Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov, who has been under US sanctions for years. That relationship made it essentially impossible for him to fight on American soil. The UFC's solution was to move entire cards to Abu Dhabi just to keep him active. Then at UFC 279 in 2022, things came to a head. Chimaev was booked to headline against Nate Diaz at welterweight and stepped on the scale at 178.5 pounds, 7.5 pounds over the limit.
Say what? That fight is not official. That fight.
It is so far from official.
Oh.
It's just, wow. I mean, you knew as soon as he stepped up that it was going to be bad. And there we are.
The entire card had to be reshuffled the night before. His own coach publicly called it unprofessional. Fans started questioning whether he could ever be relied on. Chimaev fought Kevin Holland instead, submitted him in the first round, and shrugged the whole thing off. The UFC said nothing. Then earlier this year, a US Air Force veteran named Rich Patterson went public, claiming Chimaev and a group of 7 or 8 people surrounded him at Dubai airport and kicked him in the chest unprovoked just for saying hello.
Did he really kick someone at the airport?
I haven't talked about that. I have no idea, but I don't think so.
Yeah. A lot of rumors about him.
A fighter with visa bans, repeated pullouts, a massive weight miss, and an alleged unprovoked assault on a civilian, and he's now the middleweight champion of the world. But at least Chimaev's controversies played out away from cameras. The next fighter said his out loud, on the record, to anyone who would listen. Sean Strickland has said things that would have ended most careers before they started.
Come on, Amy, let's talk about the gays. Let's talk about the trans. Come on, Amy. I made a fucking vampire. A fucking vampire wearing a man bag with painted nails
that was so insulted that I didn't know who the he was. He acted like a woman because I didn't know, nor do I care who he was. Dude, you dress like a vampire wearing a man bag. You are a slight on society, bro. The fact that you exist is mind-boggling.
Pretty much anything you can think of, he's said it, and the UFC kept booking him. Then in June 2025, he crossed a line even the UFC couldn't fully ignore. He was cornering a teammate at a smaller regional event in Las Vegas when the opposing fighter started taunting his corner after the fight. Strickland climbed into the cage and started throwing punches at a fighter.
Oh shit! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
The Nevada State Athletic Commission hit him with a 6-month suspension and a $5,000 fine. His response was pretty much zero regrets, and the suspension was dope. He sat out the back half of 2025 and came straight back to a main event in February 2026 and ran his mouth even more.
No one gives a fuck about women's sports. Like, who cares? Like, you're watching two fucking chicks. Like, you take the weakest, softest motherfucker here and you guys would beat up Amanda Nunes. Like, fucking the fat guy in the Hawaiian shirt, no offense, dude, I like you, but, like, you fuck up Amanda Nunes any day of the week.
To the point Paramount took things into their own hands.
Who's really, like, entertaining? You got Chimaev, the fucking go-fucker. Like, who's really entertaining in this division? Nobody. So. Oh, that's a wrap? Anyways. Wait, I got one for Smo. It ain't a wrap, dog. Relax, UFC motherfucker.
The guy breaks every single rule in the book and is the worst ambassador for the UFC, but they don't do a thing about it. But compared to the next fighter, even Strickland looks tame. Brock Lesnar was the UFC's biggest mainstream star, and they treated him like it. He came from WWE, only had one professional MMA fight under his belt, and the UFC handed him a heavyweight title shot in less than a year.
I mean, Lesnar won the world title at 4 fights in his MMA career. He beat Randy Couture. I mean, that's insane. Just that alone, he stopped him. It wasn't a decision where he just laid on top of him. He stopped Randy Couture on his 4th professional fight. But he's a real freak. And he's also a 2-time NCAA national champion. I mean, he's a freak wrestler.
But in 2016, around UFC 200, USADA caught him failing 2 separate drug tests for an estrogen blocker commonly used after a steroid cycle. He failed once before the fight and once on fight night itself. The UFC let him fight Mark Hunt anyway, while the results were still pending. He won by decision. Then the test came back, the result was overturned to a no contest, and Nevada hit him with a 1-year suspension and a $250,000 fine, the largest in UFC history at the time. He served it out and never fought again. Mark Hunt was furious. He'd taken real damage, and his opponent had been dirty the whole time.
You know what's the worst thing about this whole scenario is that the UFC don't do shit about it. They're not doing a damn thing about this whole freaking cheating monkeys. And the reason why I'm so upset is not because it's the first or second. This is the 3rd time I fought someone that's been cheating. And this is and the thing is, there is no compensation. There is nothing. There is you lose 20% when you don't make weight. Okay, you forfeit 20%. But when you get caught for doping, for sticking needles in your fucking ass, what do you get? Nothing. They don't give you nothing. They just give you here's a 2-year ban. See you later.
Lesnar pulled out of fights, skipped media days, demanded huge guaranteed money, and disappeared back to the WWE basically whenever he felt like it.
When you decide or don't decide to fight, it's a decision. You mentally have to be ready to fight. You have to be all in on fighting. And if you're not all in, then you shouldn't fight. You know, he made a decision, and it's the right decision.
But no matter what Brock did, Dana always rolled out the red carpet for him. So how do you get more protected than that? Well, Vitor Belfort's career had PED question marks hanging over it for over a decade. The UFC gave him title shots, big paydays, and eventually a Hall of Fame plaque anyway. It started in 2006 after a pride fight in Las Vegas. He tested positive for 4-hydroxytestosterone, a banned anabolic steroid. Nevada hit him with a 9-month suspension and a $10,000 fine. Then came the TRT era. From around 2012 to 2014, Belfort held a therapeutic use exemption for testosterone replacement therapy, which was technically legal at the time. Then in 2012, right before his title fight with Jon Jones, the UFC messed up.
Through an accidental email leak by someone in the UFC, a handful of people in the industry were mistakenly provided with Belfort's testing record at the time and later warned by UFC's legal team to delete the email. The key results in the test, which was taken September 1st of 2012, saw Belfort's testosterone level at 1,038 nanograms of testosterone per deciliter, which is high but is within range of someone that is allowed to be on TRT. His picogram level was at 47.7 picograms per milliliter, well above the range of 8.7 to 25.1. The piece also states that it was the UFC that gave Belfort the TRT exemption and not the Ontario Athletic Commission, who oversaw the event in Toronto.
Jones later said publicly the UFC knew Belfort was on steroids and let the fight happen anyway. Vitor's physique changed dramatically over this time, and it seemed like his finishing power did too.
Does something happens to Vitor when he fills up with super unleaded?
Dude, it's like peanut butter and jelly.
He's a different
Let him
human,
do his roids,
man.
bro. Like, some people don't do well with roids. They get all red and shit. He looks great. His skin's vibrant. His tits are popping. He's all tan. His teeth get whiter.
Just look at his fight with Michael Bisping and how he finished him in the second round. In 2014, Nevada randomly tested him again and pulled his TRT exemption when the state banned them entirely. He withdrew from a title fight against Chris Weidman the same week. Under full USADA testing from 2015 onward, he never failed another test and retired clean in 2018. In 2025, the UFC inducted him into the Hall of Fame. And then there's the Diaz brothers, who built their whole brand on not caring about the rules. Nick first tested positive for marijuana in 2007, then again after losing to Carlos Condit in 2012, and a third time in 2015 after the Anderson Silva fight. Nevada came down hard that time, a 5-year ban, $165,000 fine.
Former WEC welterweight champion Nick Diaz has been suspended by the Nevada State Athletic Commission for 5 years after a failed drug test. The BJJ black belt was also forced to relinquish more than $150,000. An NSAC commissioner pointed to Diaz as a repeat offender and that the punishment fits the crime. There is proposed amendments to the rules that would have a third-time failure for marijuana a mandatory 3-year suspension, but they won't take effect till later this year. Diaz and his team are appealing the decision.
This ain't no sport. This is war. This is warfare. This is a war game. He's going in there. He's going in there to fight for his life. I can't even go stand next to him. They deprive me of not just money now, but the right to stand up for not only what I believe in, but for my little brother. I can't even go and help my little brother. And it's like, I'm like, y'all can get knocked the fuck out.
Over 100,000 people signed a petition. Dana White publicly backed the reduction, and Nevada cut it down to 18 months. His legal record outside the drug test wasn't clean either. 2 DUI arrests in 2013 and 2014, one with a high BAC, driving on a suspended license, resisting arrest. He walked away with 1 day in jail total. On top of all that, Nick missed 3 out of competition USADA tests in 2017 and picked up a whereabouts violation suspension. Then, in 2018, Nick was arrested in Las Vegas on 3 felony domestic violence charges, including battery by strangulation. Adding to the chaos, in 2019, Nate tested positive for a banned performance-enhancing drug before UFC 244.
Because there was an announcement made yesterday. That Nate Diaz had an issue with a drug test. Now notice my wording right here. There has not been an announcement of a suspension. And as of last night, Diaz had not been provisionally suspended. And notice, I also did not say that the UFC announced or that USADA announced that Nate Diaz had failed a test. I didn't say that because it was Nate Diaz himself who announced the results of a drug test.
USADA traced it to a contaminated supplement he was selling himself. He was fully cleared. Through all of it, Dana White fought to reduce Nick's bans, kept booking them for big money main events, and treated them like legends of the sport. The Diaz brothers at least earned their protection. Greg Hardy walked in off the street with a domestic violence conviction already on his record.
Okay, what's going on? Domestic violence. Some girl's in her house upstairs, and I heard it, and I seen it.
The league said it had concluded that Hardy used physical force against Holder on at least 4 occasions, and that she was severely traumatized and sustained a range of injuries.
A judge convicted him on 2 counts of domestic violence. He got 18 months probation. On appeal in 2015, Holder didn't show up to testify. The charges were dismissed, and she settled a civil lawsuit out of court. Then, in 2016, police found cocaine in his car during a traffic stop.
New on SportsCenter, some more NFL news to pass on. Former Dallas Cowboys defensive end Greg Hardy has been arrested on a drug charge. He was arrested Sunday for possession of a controlled substance.
He pleaded guilty to misdemeanor possession. Dana White signed him to the UFC anyway in 2018, personally defended the decision, and fast-tracked him onto main cards. It didn't take long for the backlash to occur. Women's fighters, fans, and media publicly ripped the promotion for putting him on cards alongside domestic violence survivors. Dana kept saying the same thing: everybody deserves a second chance.
Right so far, the guy paid his dues. He hit rock bottom. He built himself back up, and the guy's out there trying to make a life and a living.
Hardy went 4-5 in the UFC before getting quietly cut in 2022, but there are two fighters who make this look tame. And first up, it's Jon Jones, the guy most people consider the greatest of all time. He's also had more run-ins with the law than almost any fighter in UFC history. That included a suspended license arrest in 2011 and a DUI conviction in 2012 during a time when he was partying hard all the time.
I had this crazy thing that I would do where I would party 1 week before every fight, and I did it throughout my whole career. And this was stupid, but it was this mental crutch that I had. I literally would, 1 week before every fight, I would go out and I would get blacked out wasted. And my logic was, if this guy were to beat me somehow, I can look myself in the mirror and say that, well, I lost because I got hammered the week before the fight.
Then in April 2015, it became impossible to ignore. Jones hit a pregnant woman's car in Albuquerque, got out, and fled the scene on foot, leaving her injured in the road. When police found his rental car abandoned sitting nearby, there was weed inside, an open bottle of vodka, and his ID sitting right there. He pleaded guilty to leaving the scene of an accident, picked up probation and 60 hours of community service, and the UFC suspended him. But when it was over, he got another title shot. The PED issues started surfacing around the same time, with multiple USADA flags that kept the conversation going.
So I took an off-brand Cialis pill.
Off-brand?
It wasn't actual Cialis, but it was described to me as being a Cialis, and so I thought it was a Cialis, and I just took it. So
why does a guy like you need Cialis?
I have a huge cock, Joe.
It's too big?
It's too big.
But the one that really landed came in 2017, right before his rematch with Daniel Cormier.
I was horrified. It was, I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. I'm trying not to focus on that right now because of, Saturday, but yeah, it's bad. He's got to go through, the process now, and we'll see how this thing plays out, but yeah, it's bad.
His win was overturned, the title was stripped, and he sat out 15 months. When it was over, he got another title shot. And that wasn't even the end of it. From a misdemeanor battery arrest at an Albuquerque strip club in 2019, to an aggravated DWI in March 2020, until September 2021, it got even worse. Right after attending the UFC Hall of Fame ceremony at Caesars Palace, Jones was arrested for domestic battery against his fiancée.
Hey, this is Eduardo with Caesars Palace Security.
Hi.
Hey, we've got a possible DV call, domestic violence call. Female is bleeding from the nose and mouth.
Do you know where this happened at?
We believe it happened in the room.
Do you know what room?
6716. So she's not admitting to any domestic violence, any physical violence. But I mean, she's bleeding from the nose and mouth. She's down with us while the male is up at the room. And he's actually a professional MMA fighter, Jon Jones.
He even headbutted a police car outside. The felony got dropped, he worked out a plea deal, and when it was done, you guessed it, he got another title shot. In 2024, he got into a physical confrontation with a USADA testing agent at his own gym. That got dismissed too, after anger management. Then in February 2025, right before he retired, a woman told police Jones had been driving, crashed the car, and left her at the scene. He was charged in June, and yeah, by September, the DA dropped everything. His alibi checked out, and the woman's account fell apart under scrutiny. But by that point, Jones had already spent the final stretch of his career causing headaches for everyone around him. Tom Aspinall was basically frozen in place, waiting for Jones to either fight or walk away. And through all of it, Dana White stood at podiums defending him every single time.
This is the problem with the conversation that we're having here and why people aren't giving Jon Jones the respect for pound. This fucking guy destroyed the best heavyweight in the division. Easily made it look like nothing. Jon Jones is the pound for pound best fighter in the world and the greatest fighter fucking ever. Period. End of story.
But now it seems even Dana is getting tired of him.
Jon Jones he retired because of his hips. He's got arthritis in his hips. Apparently he's been, doctors say he should have hip replacement. So add that on top of all the other reasons that I wouldn't. The Jon Jones thing is bullshit.
Jones didn't take that well.
Here you go. I'm released from the UFC. He's saying that because someone said, is that the end of Jon Jones's career? And Dana White said, yeah. Let's go. If I would prove him wrong, would I be wrong? Or would a bigger man be remaining silent? I'll be the fall guy, sure. Make this make sense. So all of this negotiating was complete bullshit? Is that what you want me to agree to publicly? Man, how fucking painful. Laying in my bed, wrapping my head around this perception, all I can think is how effing painful. And then the other half of me is like, but is it really though?
No other UFC fighter in history collected that many second chances across that many years. Well, no other fighter except one. Conor McGregor is by far the biggest draw in UFC history. He's also the fighter the UFC protected more aggressively than anyone else. The bus attack in April 2018 would have been the end of the line for most fighters on this list. McGregor and his crew stormed the loading dock at a UFC media day in Brooklyn, walked up to the fighter bus, and he threw a metal dolly straight through the window. Glass went everywhere. Ray Borg and Michael Chiesa both had to pull out of their fights because of injuries from the attack. McGregor got arrested on 3 counts of assault and criminal mischief. He eventually pleaded guilty to 1 misdemeanor disorderly conduct charge and walked away with 5 days of community service and anger management. Dana White stood at a press conference and called it the most disgusting thing he had ever seen in his life.
Everybody's shaken up when 30 thugs storm these guys are all cutting weight and getting ready for a fight. This is the most disgusting thing that has ever happened in the history of the company.
McGregor fought on the next major card anyway. Then came the allegations that followed him for years. In December 2018, a Dublin hairstylist named Nikita Hand accused McGregor of raping her in a hotel penthouse after a night out. Irish prosecutors investigated and declined to press criminal charges in 2020, saying there wasn't enough evidence. But she filed a civil lawsuit and took it to a trial. And in November 2024, a 12-person jury found McGregor liable and ordered him to pay approximately 250,000 euros in damages.
Devious coward is how he was described in court.
Do you have any reaction or apology to the women at the centre of this?
A man whose entire career is fighting. This time, he lost this fight to save his reputation. The jury here finding this sports star attack Nikita Hand, and this is what vindication looks like.
He immediately appealed. 3 judges reviewed it and rejected his appeal in full in July 2025. He took it all the way to the Supreme Court of Ireland. They turned him down too in December 2025. That wasn't the only allegation either. In 2019, McGregor pleaded guilty to assaulting an older man in a Dublin pub.
This surveillance video showing MMA fighter Conor McGregor punching an elderly man is making its rounds on the internet. The alleged assault, all because the man declined McGregor's offer to take a shot of whiskey. Now, TMZ released this shocking video that captures the moment Conor McGregor punched that elderly man in the head. Now, the attack happened at a pub in Dublin back in April. You can see folks, I'm gonna stop talking while, wow, there we go. So
in 2020, he was arrested in Corsica after allegations of attempted sexual assault and indecent exposure at a bar. At a private party in Ibiza in 2021, McGregor attacked a DJ unprovoked in front of a room full of people.
Your brain turned off immediately in 1 second. And he punched me in my face.
A few months later, at the MTV Video Music Awards in New York, he tried to fight Machine Gun Kelly on the red carpet. Then in 2023, a woman accused him of sexually assaulting her in a bathroom during an NBA Finals game in Miami.
Former UFC champion Conor McGregor tonight denying an allegation he sexually assaulted a woman at the Miami Heat Arena after Game 4 of the NBA Finals. The woman, who has not been identified, who was allegedly forced into a men's bathroom by security after the game June 9th, which is where she says McGregor sexually assaulted her. A lawyer for McGregor tells NBC News in a statement that, and I'm quoting here, the allegations are false and that Mr. McGregor will not be intimidated.
She filed a civil lawsuit in 2025. That case was voluntarily dismissed with prejudice in December 2025, meaning it can never be refiled. Through all of it, the UFC never cut him, never issued a meaningful suspension, never publicly distanced themselves from him at all. Dana White defended him and kept building events around his name. So what's the pattern here? Look at every fighter on this list and one thing sticks out right away. The UFC does enforce its conduct policy. Sometimes, they just aren't applied equally. And the difference between the fighters who got cut and the fighters who kept getting title shots comes down to one thing: how much money they were making the company.
Imagine, switch it around. Imagine if Ray Borg threw that dolly at the bus and Conor was inside.
He will be smoked.
Be gone. His
Yeah,
career would be over.
He will be gone for sure.
That's one of the more fucked up things about this.
Yeah, he will be gone.
Is that you know Conor's getting special treatment.
Exactly. Of course.
He is.
Yeah, of course.
That's not good for anybody.
No, it's not. It's not.
The UFC is more dependent on a small number of stars than almost any other major sport. There's no team, no season, no league brand to fall back on. When a pay-per-view underperforms, it's usually because the right name isn't on the card. That makes the biggest draws almost impossible to replace, and the UFC knows it. So the conduct policy gets enforced hard on fighters who are easy to move on from, and it gets quietly set aside for the ones who can't be replaced. Dana's even gone so far as to move an entire fight card for Jon Jones.
Jon Jones did not fail a drug test. That's not true. He did in 2016. Tested positive for a metabolite, but completely different.
Right.
The reason we came to California is because California was very intimate with his situation. This is where it went down. They were educated on what was going on, and a lot of science involved that I don't know a lot about, but yeah, he did not fail a drug test, just for the record.
The UFC will tell you every fighter is held to the same standard. The record, well, that shows something completely different. And while all of this has been going on inside the UFC, there's a separate crisis that keeps getting swept under the rug. Weight cuts are getting more and more dangerous every year. To find out why, check out this video next. Thanks for watching.